to heavy metal. All variants that infect your ears.
I don't care. Just make it rock.
And now, Trunk Nation with host Eddie Trunk.
What's happening, you guys? Good Monday to you. Here on this 23rd day of February 2026, it is 3 o'clock in the East, noon in the West, and we are live to kick off another week of talking rock music with you, dabbling in some other things here and there, and happy to have you on board as we bring you what should be another action-packed week of Trunk Nation. Live every day, 3 to 5 Eastern, anytime live or on demand using the SiriusXM app. Hope you all had a good weekend, whatever it is you got into. For my friends that are in the Northeast, hope you are hanging in there best you can with the latest blast of snow and blizzard-like conditions. It's been a pretty brutal winter season there in the Northeast for sure. Brutal winter, one that I've luckily avoided being west in Vegas where I am right now. So for all those people that are like, oh, it's so hot there in the summer, how do you deal with it? Well, here's how we deal with it. It was 65 and sunny this weekend. Not a shovel in sight. So there's the trade-off, there's the trade-off, which I'll take any day of the week. But hopefully you guys are all right and things are safe where you're at and you didn't get hit too hard, although it looks like certain areas certainly did, and maybe more snow even coming this week in some of those areas. By the way, tying in with that, I am scheduled to fly east to Boston on Wednesday after this radio show. And scheduled to host a charity event in Boston on Thursday at the Lansdowne Pub. That is a guitar shredders contest that Ryan Roxy and Tommy Henriksen of the Alice Cooper Band will also be a part of. I'll be hosting it. They'll be judging it. And I found out those guys are actually also here in Vegas because they're rehearsing and getting ready for the Chris Angel, Alice Cooper deal that we covered recently. So we were emailing the three of us last night, figuring out everybody's game plans. Turns out we're not on the same flight into Boston, but they're going a bit later. But we were all wondering, hey, is this thing going to happen? Are we going to be able to get this in? Are the planes going to fly? As of now, that event is still a full go and still happening. And as of now, our flights, the three of us from Vegas to Boston, are still on as well. So as long as that holds, we are still happening on Thursday in Boston for the Ultimate Shredder contest to benefit Music Drives Us. So if you were wondering about that, any changes, of course, I'll let you know immediately if I'm on the air. If not, of course, on social media as well. But as of now, if you're wondering about Thursday, that is still a go. And hope to see you there in Boston. All right, so my weekend, couple interesting things for you. And, of course, we're going to take a lot of your calls today and ease into the week with a free-for-all Monday. Tomorrow, our first guest of the week, Wolfgang Van Halen, returns to the show. He will join us live. And we have a good amount of time with Wolf tomorrow. So even though he will not be in studio with me, he has been in the past, but he won't be tomorrow. I'm assuming he's home in L.A. I'm not sure. But Wolf will be in to talk about a lot of touring that he has coming up this year. But we will take, if you'd like to talk to him, we'll take some phone calls for him as well. So, we'll patch you in. We'll be doing it over Zoom, but we should be able to take some calls if you'd like to talk to Wolfgang. And again, he is scheduled to be on with us tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern, a half an hour into the show. Also, later this week on the show, John Taylor of Duran Duran and Power Station, and also Steve Vai and Joe Satriani on together. And they will also be world premiering. We will be world premiering with them their brand new song together, which is called Dancing. It is an instrumental song. Unlike the first one they put out, which featured Glenn Hughes on vocals, this is instrumental. And they will be on to tell us all about it, and we will world premiere it on Friday of this week. So some cool stuff, pretty action-packed week lined up for you. And again, it all happens in the 3 to 5 Eastern window each and every day, or anytime using the SiriusXM app. But as far as the weekend is concerned, so Saturday night I did something that I've not done in a really long time. If you follow me on social media, you probably saw it. I used to be a huge boxing fan. And in the last 5 years or so, I have lost track of it to some degree, to a large degree, to be honest. Part of the reason for that is it became very hard to watch the sport on TV because it became very expensive. It used to be that HBO used to show fights and Showtime used to show fights, and that all went away. And now it's on a streaming platform for the most part, and, it could be $100 pay-per-view. And I never really had a lot of friends that were into boxing, so, usually used to be, especially if I'm in the East, the main events go off at like midnight. So trying to get people to come over, buy a pay-per-view, $100, just, got old after a while. So that coupled with the cost of tickets to go, I really kind of let it go a number of years ago. But at one point I was so into it, I was actually a ring announcer for a few fights. And my buddy Stoney Curtis hit me up and he said that he came into a couple of tickets to a fight here in Vegas on Saturday night at the T-Mobile Arena that were two welterweights, Mario Barrios versus Ryan Garcia. Now, you guys may not have even heard about this because boxing seems to be a pretty niche thing these days, although it looked to be a sold-out arena crowd, so definitely there was an audience for this. So I said, yeah, I haven't gone to a fight in a long time, and, I love boxing when I was into it. Again, maybe it'll get me back into it. So I went, he and I went Saturday night, and it was funny because turned out the guy that he got the tickets through is high up with the Nevada State Boxing Commission, the sanctioning body of all the fights, whether they're boxing or UFC. So we get there and we just were given these bracelets and no tickets. And we're like, well, where do we go? And they said, well, you go wherever you want with that. And I said, really? So basically it was the equivalent of like an all access pass for boxing. So we ended up sitting 2 rows from the ring, like only 1 row in front of us, and that was it. It was crazy. And, if you watched it, I don't know how many people know about this, but you knew or cared about this, but it was the main event was a great fight. We saw about 2-3 undercards, and I was sitting around some real boxing luminaries like the legendary referee Joe Cortez sat right next to us. Bernard Hopkins was a few seats away. Oscar De La Hoya was a few seats away. Really, really cool experience, and the fights were real good. So that was a really cool thing to do on this past Saturday night. And, I really wish, because UFC is huge now, I know that. And UFC did something recently that's only going to make it huger. They made a deal with Paramount Plus to stream all the fights on Paramount Plus, which, again, I know there's a million of these streaming outlets, but if you have that one, you can watch basically every weekend the fights, not at an upcharge. That's huge. I mean, UFC was huge already, This is only going to make it even bigger and more widely available. Problem with boxing is if you even find the outlet that it's on, if it's a decent fight, they're charging you like $100 to watch it. Most people aren't paying that unless you're hardcore. So if boxing and, there's different sanctioning bodies, that hurts them too. If they could unify things with their broadcasts and make it affordable, I think it would make it, so much better and give it such a better shot at getting out there again. Because it is a great sport if you truly get a chance to watch it. By the way, I ran into and I saw the guys that do the At the Fights boxing show right here on Sirius XM. Jerry Cooney, former boxer, and the commish, Randy Gordon, were both at the fight. Said a quick hello to them. I've been on their show a few times. But again, I lost track. I used to go on there when I really followed it, and I just have not followed it that closely at all. So there were a bunch of guys sitting around me. I didn't know who they were that were current boxers. So I, definitely not up to speed on it. The other thing that I did this weekend, and this is music related, was I went to the Elvis Presley movie, which is called EPIC, which stands for Elvis Presley in Concert. And you may have heard about this film. In some places, it's been reported as a documentary. It's really not, although there are documentary elements to it. But what it is a time capsule of Elvis, for the most part, after he served in the military and him coming back into music. And I believe the main timeline that it covers is around 1969 to 1977. And they found a bunch of footage that had never been seen before of Elvis rehearsing, performing, interview stuff, and it is amazing. Now look, Elvis, of course, predates my time. My parents were into Elvis, but Elvis is where everything that we love about rock came from. He's called the king for a reason. You can trace the lines all the way back, and it always lands on Elvis. We always say it lands on the Beatles, and it does. But the Beatles loved Elvis. So that's the real lineage there. So I was curious to see this. And I went, saw it in IMAX. I was told by many, if you see it in IMAX. It's in IMAX this week, and then it goes to standard format, I guess, starting next week. It's in theaters. It's about a 90-minute film. It was done by the director Baz Luhrmann. And it is, it's incredible. It shows some sides of Elvis that you may not have ever seen before. And what I mean by that is, he had a great sense of humor, and he liked to goof around with people a little bit, have fun with people. As big as he was not full of himself. It seemed like he was a pretty grounded guy that, just really loved to entertain. So you pick that up. His band is fantastic. The hysteria around him is incredible. And, he was able to do things, obviously, in the 70s that you could not get away with now. Women just throwing themselves at him. And he would just go through the audience and kiss them all on the lips. Grab them and kiss them all, and they were more than willing to be kissed. It was a different time. We'll leave it at that. But it was, it was amazing. It was an amazing time capsule. It was an amazing thing to see. It was amazing to hear how consistently good he was on all of these performances. Again, there's no tapes, there's no tracks, there's no computers. They didn't exist. This is a guy with just a huge band and killer band and going up there and playing these songs and being the king. And it's great to see. It's if you love rock music as we do, and even whatever genre of rock you're into, you can't not go take this in and just see the roots of this stuff that we love and how it impacted so many people. And when music was music and rock stars were rock stars, man, it was a different time. And the restoration of the film, the color, the audio mix, hearing it in IMAX was unbelievable. So, caught that. It's playing in theaters now. Right when I got out of it, I immediately called my parents because, they grew up with Elvis, and Elvis was my mom's hero. I told my mom, I'm like, they're getting zonked with snow back there in Jersey, but I said, as soon as you can get out, you should go to the theater and see this because you would really enjoy it. So that was my weekend for the most part. As far as news is concerned, before we get to hearing about you and whether it be something you did musically over the weekend or that you want to jump in on, let me get you some news. The biggest news today is related to Rush. And it's the announcement of more Rush tour dates. And it's the announcement, although this may have kind of leaked out, but they've now publicly acknowledged it's true, who the fourth member of Rush is going to be when they tour. Now, for those that don't know, and I've brought this up more than one time, I think this is very much flying under the radar. There's been so much attention paid to Rush playing with a new drummer that one of the things that's been really totally overlooked in the announcement that Rush were coming back is the fact that they are doing so for the first time in their career as a four-piece. And they are going to be using a supporting keyboard player. So Geddy Lee, who did quadruple duty for the longest time in Rush, vocals, bass, keys, will now not be playing keys. I'm wondering, he may still have a keyboard rig just to supplement, or if he feels like playing a part. But Rush will, for the first time ever, tour with a keyboard player and a fourth member of the band. And that member has been revealed. His name is Lauren Gold. And he has played with, most recently, The Who for the last 12 years. He's also played with Chicago, Don Felder, and as most touring session keyboardists, a ton of acts. And a variety of different acts and variety of different genres of music. He has been a music director in the past. He also sings. I had brought that up that I would suspect, and I don't know Lauren, but I would suspect that his vocal is going to be the type of vocal and maybe a high vocal that would absolutely help out Geddy Lee, because I think in addition to taking the keyboard duties off of Geddy, I would think that he's going to welcome some vocal support as well. So that is all going to come from Lauren Gold, spelled Loren. And on the pop side, he was music director and played with pop artist Hilary Duff. Again, these guys, and there's a ton of musicians like this, who, jump, they're pros, they jump from gig to gig, and they play in these supporting roles for whatever variety of music or genre of music they get hired for. And now he steps into what will no doubt be his biggest biggest spotlight and focal point, and that is supporting Rush on all of their coming tour dates. The other part of the Rush news today that I also think is equally interesting for a different reason is their announcement of more tour dates in 2027. They have already announced shows for next year today. Now, none of these shows are in the U.S. So we know everything that's been announced for Rush for this year is in the U.S. Everything so far announced for next year is in Europe and South America. But why this is really, I think, interesting and important is because it tells you that Rush is back in a big way. Initially the thought was they were just going to come back and maybe do a few scattered shows, celebrate Neil, and that was it. And the reason why we all thought that is because Alex Lifeson's repeated insistence that he did not want to tour. I mean, he said it more than once on this very radio show, that he had no interest in going on the road and no interest in touring. And that's why we brought up many times, well, maybe there'd be a residency, doesn't have to go anywhere, make the people come to him. With a band like Rush, people would certainly do that. Could potentially have even done Sphere here in Vegas, although when I talked to Alex about Vegas, he seemed very anti-Vegas for whatever reason. But as they rolled out more and more tour dates in America and more cities, and again, they're far from playing every city here in the U.S., but they're playing a lot of cities and multiple nights. Now we know they are going to tour to the degree that they are now going outside of the U.S. As of now, they've already announced dates that will start in January of 2027, so right after the holidays, and there will be 24 shows as of now in 13 different countries. So we always knew that Geddy loved to travel and tour. I mean, as soon as Rush ended with Neil, Geddy went out on the road, but not playing. He went out on the road just traveling to see the world. Because, I remember him telling me it's very different when you're traveling and you're traveling and touring in a rock band with that commitment versus traveling and being able to do whatever you want and not having the responsibility of having to do a gig. So we know Geddy loves to be on the road. Alex, we know, has not. But Alex has clearly, and I don't know if Geddy worked on him, but has done a 180 here. Because now he's going to be touring America and next year outside of America. And I would not be surprised at all if more shows are added to the 24 that were announced today. And to my point about Rush fans being so incredibly fanatical and passionate, there will be a large portion of them that will go from the U.S. to these shows in Europe and other parts of the world. And to that point, Rush have offered all sorts of VIP packages, and even there are some travel packages if you'd like to go to shows outside of your area, which I'm sure you could find online. So, a lot of news on Rush. One of the many entries in our NBEE category. No Band Ever Ends. Now back with world touring this year and next year. And I would not be surprised at all, given that they are a full go back here, that there is not some sort of new music. I don't know anything for a fact. I had heard some rumors that they've been in studios. That could be remixes, though. It could be Atmos stuff. Who knows? reissues, what have you. But I got to think, if these guys are this back all in like this, I would not be surprised at all if they drop a song or two, or potentially even one of these lately things we've been seeing, like, surprise, here's a whole new record, which would be great because they're clearly all back. So that's the big Rush news. Obviously a huge band for my audience, and I open with that one today. Also, Louder Than Life, one of the many Danny Wimmer Presents festivals, this one taking place in Louisville, has announced their lineup. It runs for 4 days, September 17th through September 20th this year. It will feature 200 bands over those 4 days. Tired just thinking about it. And it will feature headliners Iron Maiden, who we know are touring themselves in America this year. Pantera, who at this point forward, I am going to use the terminology that Zakk Wylde used when he was on with us last week, or a week and a half ago, and call it Pantera Celebration. If you heard the interview, I brought this up to Zach, and he didn't really want to elaborate too much, and I have a take on probably why. But again, the branding has all been Pantera, Pantera, Pantera. Every single time you hear Zach himself reference this, including in my interview with him, he says the Pantera Celebration. I think that's way more accurate, and I respect Zach for doing that. And I, again, believe I know why. But anyway, they are activated for this. Megadeth, who of course are opening many of the Iron Maiden, all of the Iron Maiden shows. So again, you see this a lot with festivals. If a tour is not going into a certain market, they will take an existing touring package of 2 or 3 bands and just plunk it into one of the days of the festival. So you can go see Iron Maiden and Megadeth together, many spots across the country. They've picked it off to be the opening night of this tour, or this festival. Also on the lineup, My Chemical Romance, Limp Bizkit, and Tool. But there are tons of other acts of the 200 bands on Louder Than Life, as 200 acts would lead you to believe. The only real retro act on here is Alice Cooper, who has in recent years become the token retro act on some of these festivals. Now, of course, Iron Maiden are a retro act, having started in 1980. But Alice Cooper started in the 60s. So that's retro. Again, September 17th through 20th for this year's Louder Than Life. By the way, tomorrow we will have the Rocklahoma Festival announcement. They will announce their full lineup. That one I host, of course, in the Tulsa area, Labor Day weekend, as usual. That lineup is being announced tomorrow, and we'll cover it, of course, on the air when I get started. What else do I have for you? Gene Simmons performed his first show of the year of 2026. As you know, and I certainly was greatly disappointed at Gene's set list and presentation when he did his first shows with his new Gene Simmons band last year. There was a lot of talking in the show. There were weird covers played in the show. There were the usual Kiss songs we've heard for 50 years played in the show. bringing kids up on stage, making it kind of like a variety hour. It was extremely disappointing because I saw it as a hugely missed opportunity where we've heard for so long from Gene himself about how many records they sold and all that, and went out there and played the same old Kiss songs and a bunch of head-scratching, quite frankly, song selections with a great band. So a phenomenally missed opportunity. Well, many, myself included, were curious to see if Gene would correct that, because I certainly was not the only one to have blowback about it and be upset about it. To some degree he did, to some degree he did not. Now, I was not at the show. The show took place in Louisiana, and Gene is now on a cruise. He's playing a cruise at the moment. But he did a headline show in Louisiana prior to this cruise. And that set list is now online and has been revealed. The surprise, the big surprise by far in the set list is the inclusion of a song from The Elder, an album that the band has shit on pretty much since it came out, and is a polarizing album, to say the least, in the Kiss catalog. Some fans actually do love the record, some bands not so much. Some fans not so much. But it was a bomb of an album and almost destroyed the band, and it was very much Gene's idea. And over the years, like a lot of records that get destroyed for 40 years after they come out, all of a sudden people, hey, you know what, I like some stuff on that record. Even sometimes the band members themselves shift gears on that. So the biggest surprise to me was doing the song I from The Elder. If you know that album, you know it's a song where Gene and Paul trade off on lead vocals. My understanding is the way that Gene Simmons' band is doing it, 3 of the members are trading off on lead vocals on the song. And it's an anthemic song, and it's probably the most Kiss-like song on that record. So that was really surprising and frankly cool. I mean, that's all we were all hoping for, right? Is just something different. So that is certainly different. So whether you like that song or not, just because it's something different, that's a big thumbs up to me. They also included Domino from the Revenge album, which was a pretty big song from that record. I believe they may have done that last year too. I'm not sure. They're continuing to do Charisma, a deep track from the Dynasty record, so that's cool. And then the other kind of surprise inclusions on this set list were 2 songs very much associated with Ace Frehley. One being Strange Ways, a very heavy song from Hotter Than Hell that Ace wrote, did not sing, but wrote, and has a classic Ace solo in it. And that song is sung by Gene on these live dates, the live performance. On the record, it was sung by Peter Criss. And then another Ace song in the set, and that is Rocket Ride, which of course was sung by Ace and written by Ace. And both Strange Ways and Rocket Ride done for decades by Ace during his solo touring. 2 songs that were pretty much always in his solo dates. Now adopted by Gene Simmons and Gene's band. So you can look at that, you can read that however you want. I'm sure there's some fans that might take that and find a negative spin to it, meaning like, oh, Ace is gone and now, that kind of vibe. Or the other spin, the positive spin being It's a tribute to Ace. Now, I don't know how these songs were set up when they were played. I saw a little clip of Rocket Ride, which, by the way, Gene's guitar player, Brent Woods, is singing when they play it live. And Gene introduced the song. And again, I don't know, there may have been more that I did not hear because I'm only going with what the little bit I saw online, where Gene just introduced the song as a song that Kiss never played live in their 50-year history. Well, that is true. But Ace played it live almost every show in his 40-year history as a solo artist. So I don't know, because I'm only going off YouTube clips, if Gene said something about Ace before it was played or just said that. If he just said that, that's a little weird. But again, we know this has been a weird time since Ace passed and some of the messaging. So anyway, overall, those are the nuggets in terms of a revision on the set list. So those are some good improvements there. The negative would be you're still getting probably 65% of the set is the songs that you have been beaten into the ground with if you are a Kiss fan. You know, Shout It Out Loud, Rock and Roll All Night, Deuce, the usual suspects. War Machine. I mean, my God. War Machine has been played at every show since I think Creatures of the Night came out. There are so many great songs on Creatures. And War Machine and I Love It Loud, the two Run Into the Ground, are still both in Gene's solo set. That's where I don't get it. Like, give me Rock and Roll Hell. Give me. But anyway, it is what it is. There is some improvement, so some credit there. What else do I have for you? I thought this was interesting. Scorpions, and this kind of flew under the radar a little bit. Scorpions are going to put out a remix of their debut album that is 60 years old. That album is Lonesome Crow, featuring an extraordinarily young Michael Schenker on lead guitar. That album has been remixed in Dolby Atmos and will be reissued later this year. I understand the significance of the record being 60 years old, but that album is not a well-known album at all, had nothing close to a hit on it. I don't even think initially was released in America. It's an interesting timepiece, but it's not a record that even the band plays anything from live pretty much ever. But I understand the historic significance given that it's 60 years old and what have you. So if you're a hardcore Scorpions fan, you'll be able to get a new version of Lonesome Crow, an extensive remix that will be released soon. Also, there's going to be a documentary on Greg Allman, legendary keyboardist from the Allman Brothers Band. It is called The Music of My Soul. It will be released this summer, and it covers Greg Allman's entire history and life, including his relationship with Cher, the death of his brother, the rise of the Allman Brothers, his solo career, and much more. Mike Patton, vocalist of Faith No More, a band that appears to be done, but you know my mantra, no band ever ends, so even if they are done, it won't be for long. But in the meantime, one of Mike Patton's side bands, Tomahawk, is going to go out on tour. They are coupling up with the Melvins, And that those dates are on July 13th through August 15th of this year. I think that's all I have for you. I'm pretty sure, looking down my list of notes. Yeah, that kind of covers it on my end. Joel, anything you want to jump in on?
Yeah, I'll just add a note here that I saw. We talked last week about this potential Alex Van Halen, Steve Lukather music that's coming out and what's going to be of it. Well, we had mentioned that Paul Rogers was in talks initially and turned down the opportunity to provide vocals for that, right? And over the weekend he had to come out and basically give a statement saying that he's okay, he's all good, and he's in good shape, because what was said about him kind of like made it seem that he wasn't doing great. But he put out a statement saying, thanks to Van Halen for inviting me to work on a track with them, but I'm in my acoustic Zen phase of life. So he's doing well, according to him, and he's just in a different phase and not trying to do that kind of music. Also, a couple of birthdays today to shout out. Brad Whitford and Michael Wilton are celebrating today.
Oh, nice. Happy birthday to both of those gentlemen. I know them both and wish them nothing but the best. So this is the second time in 2 weeks we've seen a artist having to put out a statement because of the massive overreaction to interviews and clickbait stuff on the internet. Of course, last week it was Steve Perry, who had to put out a statement saying he is not going back to Journey, driven by tons of clickbaiting, reporting, ignoring the context of what was said. With Paul Rogers, Alex Van Halen, for whatever reason, did an interview with this, I don't know if it was a podcast, publication, whatever it was, in Brazil. I don't know what the connection to Brazil or this outlet was that he did that. I don't know if he's just, it seems like Alex wanting to get out there a little bit, which is good. But of course, anytime he does, people are going to dissect everything that is said. So the big thing that came out of it initially was him saying that there is this record that is being worked on with Steve Lukather playing guitar on it, or filling in guitar parts. In that same interview, as Joel mentioned, they were asking who the vocalist would be on it. And he said they weren't sure, but had reached out to Paul Rogers, and Paul declined due to health concerns, which again led people to believe that Paul Rogers was in bad shape. So I understand Paul feeling the need to put that statement out. And Paul has been through a lot. He's been through multiple strokes, as he revealed on this show. So, my take on it is pretty simple. I mean, it's just not something Paul Rogers wanted to do at this point in his life. And, he didn't go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame either when Bad Company was just inducted. So he didn't feel like wanting to sing and be a part of something that I think would get that kind of attention and would be a hard rock thing and put him in that kind of spotlight. But there's a difference between doing that and being, badly in bad health. Paul Rogers is also going to be celebrated coming up in a few days, March 2nd, I believe it is, in Palm Springs. We had Matt Sorum on this show talking about that. Sorum is paying tribute to Paul Rogers and to Geezer Butler at this event in Palm Springs, which I believe is a week from today. And when Paul Rogers was on, I asked him, I said, when Matt was on, he said, is Paul going to be able to do that? And he said, yeah, no, he's going to be able to do it because he lives in Palm Springs. And Paul Rogers also put out a statement about that and said he's going to do his best to get up and do a couple songs. So it's just these guys as they get older, there's maybe some overlying health stuff, kind of picking their spots a little bit as to what they do and don't want to do. And, the same thing with Dee Snider, who last week had to put out a statement saying, look, I'm not dying. I'm okay. I'm just not in a position at this point in my life where I can go and front Twisted Sister in shows in Europe. But I'm okay. So it's just, some of these guys getting older and being like, yeah, it's not smart for me to do that kind of stuff anymore and checking out of it. All right, thank you for that, Joel. Also, one other note, Old School Thrash Tour going out. Death Angel with Violence. They will be doing a pretty extensive run. It goes May 1st through June 21. Death Angel will be continuing to play their Act 3 album in its entirety for that album's 35th anniversary. Also, one other quick note on the Rush stuff that I told you about just a few minutes ago. The other interesting thing about when you look at that routing and that touring in Europe and South America is that there are a lot of holes in that. There's a lot of gaps where there's 10, 15 days off in certain places. We saw that with the initial announcement of the U.S. dates as well. And at that time, I said that's probably because they're going to add a bunch of shows. Well, the same thing with this initial rollout of dates in Europe. Now, the gaps could be just because they want time off, or the gaps could be because they're going to add shows, or both. We'll see. But if you look at the actual dates, there's some pretty good gaps in there that tell you something else is probably cooking in that space, just like what happened in the U.S. All right, and lastly, before I go to a break and then talk to you guys, got to congratulate the U.S. men's hockey team, who I'm watching on the news just now, have just arrived back into the U.S. They've just landed in Miami. That's the area they came back into. Probably smart, staying away from the snow. And I admit, I can't even believe the Olympics are over already. It kind of blew by on me. I really barely watched it, but huge accomplishment for the U.S. and the men's hockey team winning the gold. Incredible. First time in 40-something years. Joel, you got into that, right? You were watching that quite a bit, right?
Oh, yeah. I was big time into it. The guy who scored the golden goal that won it is a Devils player, Jack Hughes. So I'm all about it. I was all about it. It was a great game. They were getting killed for most of the game, on the ice, but on the scoreboard it was close. It was great hockey. 46 years since they won gold. It was awesome.
So you weren't even alive when it happened last time.
No, yeah, I was just a thought.
Yeah, I remember it. Who didn't? If you're old enough, the classic call by Al Michaels and all that. Wow, it's amazing. That is awesome. So congratulations to the U.S. men's hockey team, man. Awesome. All right, thank you for that, Joel. Hockey, another sport I was super into at one point, especially when I was in high school back in the day. And for whatever reason, just kind of drifted on that one too. Joel, you're a Devils fan?
Yeah, you'd never know that being a New Yorker, but yeah, half my family is from New Jersey, so I got a little bit of Jersey blood and roots. Yeah,
I would. I was a Rangers fan growing up because the Devils didn't exist. There were no Devils. The Devils came in in the 80s, I think.
Early 80s. I think it was 1983.
And they were moved because they were the Colorado. I remember they came from Colorado. Colorado, before they had the Avalanche, Colorado had the Rockies. The Colorado Rockies were the hockey team in Denver, and they became the Devils. They relocated and became the New Jersey Devils. And now, they've replaced the team now in Denver, but that's where the Devils came from. But I've always been one of these guys that's like, I will never deviate from the teams that I grew up rooting for. Through thick and thin, good and bad, I will always be a fan of that team. So when the Devils came, I was a Rangers fan already for like 10 years. I couldn't leave the Rangers. But by rights, I should be a Devils fan because I'm from New Jersey, but there was no Devils when I was growing up. So it was, I just never wanted to deviate, and now they got the Golden Knights here in Vegas that always have pretty good years. I think are having a good year now, too. I haven't gone to a Knights game here yet, but people tell me it's great, so I got to get to one of those soon, too. All right, thank you for that, Joel. So the rest of the way, we give it to you on the phones, and it's 844-686-5863. As usual, coming off the weekend, a lot going on. I threw a lot at you. I think the big lead news here today is, without a doubt, for
The Bonfire with Big J. Okerson and Robert Kelly.
I don't weigh myself. I don't know what I weigh right now. I guess it'd be 260.
I weigh 230 right now. I weigh 230. But you're a big guy. But do you want to get abs again, or do you? No, right?
Again.
Wrong choice of words.
The Bonfire, weeknights at 5 p.m. Eastern on Faction Talk or anytime on the SiriusXM app.
Follow the 2026 State of the Union with live coverage on SiriusXM. This Tuesday night, President Trump delivers his address to the nation, and SiriusXM is your front row seat. Tune to our news channels for every moment as it happens, and stay with us for in-depth reaction and expert analysis from across the political spectrum immediately after the address on SiriusXM Patriot, POTUS, and Progress. Tuesday, 9 p.m. East. Search State of the Union in the SiriusXM app.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose?
Visit mintmobile.com/radio.
Limited time, 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
Guys, if you want the greatest night of your life, I mean your best night ever, then you gotta hear this. There's a great ED pill out, and it's from the makers of Viagra. It's their ED pill called Viagra AGV, and it's unbelievable. It works super fast in as little as 12 minutes and lasts up to 12 hours. Plus, it's FDA approved and safe. You need to try it for yourself. It's unreal what it does to you. Viagra AGV crushes every other ED pill, and it's endorsed by the head of urology at the prestigious Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Beverly Hills, Dr. Dudley Danoff. Every man alive needs to try this amazing, remarkable Viagra AGV pill at least once. It's beyond belief. Then you'll know why men are going crazy over it. So if you want to have the most incredible night of your life, you can't miss this. Go to scoreblue.com and try it while supplies last. Go to scoreblue.com, scoreblue.com. That's scoreblue.com. Viagra AGV is available only at scoreblue.com by prescription, no doctor visit.
So you got yourself into an upside-down car loan and owe a lot more than it's worth. This is not your fault. These days, car dealers' pressure tactics make this the new normal. So what do you do now? Just as with timeshares and taxes, there's a service to help you get out from under your high-payment car loan without loan modification or repossession. You have the right to legally cancel part of your loan balance. Plus, there are resale buyers for your car with offers higher than the low trade-in offers you have seen from dealers. Get free instructions on how to do all of this at loanexit.com. We have been working on car titles and consumer mediation for over a decade. At loanexit.com, there's a free instruction guide, a free evaluation of your loan. You can even work with a specialist if you prefer. As the founder, I have seen hundreds fight the damage from high-pressure car sales and win. Don't let them win. LoanExit.com.
We planned our investments well for retirement, but I wish we had more cash.
Don't they know they're sitting on a gold mine?
Nope, they don't know that if you want a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, you may be able to sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Don't lapse or surrender your policy before finding out what it's worth. Call Coventry Direct at 800-236-3400 or visit CoventryDirect.com to find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. That's 800-236-3400. Call now.
Trump Nation.
Bam, I get to talk to Eddie Trunk. It's better than nothing.
Sirius XM.
We don't have Steven Tyler, but here's Eddie Trunk.
Faction Talk.
So apparently Bon Jovi did something on Paramount Plus. I don't know if this, my friend Chad Stewart, drummer in Faster Pussycat, just sent this to me. It's on my phone, obviously, so I don't know. It's something, Bon Jovi Forever, a Tony Robbins special. So the motivational speaker Tony Robbins did some sort of special with Bon Jovi, which is on Paramount Plus. Joel, look that up and see if you can find out what it is. Chad just sent me the screen grab of it and a link, but I don't know if it's out yet or if it's coming out or...
Okay, here's what I got real quick. Bon Jovi Forever, a Tony Robbins special, is a 2026 special featuring an intimate, in-depth conversation between renowned life strategist Tony Robbins and John Bon Jovi, released in January 2026 on Paramount Plus and the Samsung TV Plus and Tony Robbins Network. The special focuses on themes of resilience, leadership, and 40-plus years of longevity and rock and roll.
Okay, does it say they play live in it or no?
I would have to look a little deeper. This is just...
I wonder if it's live performance, because that's the big thing.
Oh, wait, let's see. The special showcases live performance from the band across their catalog, including hits like Living on a Prayer.
Okay, well, look, it's a produced, recorded TV special, so obviously there can be a lot of stuff fixed in the post-production of it in terms of audio. Reason why I bring that up is because obviously a big spotlight here is going to be what... John sounds like, because there was a whole documentary and much of it was about his vocal issues. So it'll be interesting to see if he is, what he's sounding like, but we're really not going to know that until they go out and play the shows at Madison Square Garden, because a produced TV thing that's recorded, obviously there's much that can be done after the fact. Well, actually, I take back what I just said. We're not going to, we won't really know until they go out and play actual live shows, because as we sadly know, and for the record, I am not saying Bon Jovi is doing this because I do not know that, but I do know for a fact, as I have said in the last few weeks, I know for a fact no less than 3 artists across a couple different genres of music who are absolutely touring right now or in the future that are using new AI programming so that the lead vocal that you hear coming out of the PA is not what they are actually singing, because they cannot sing anymore. So, I'm not going to go down a whole rabbit hole here right now. I'm just telling you, man, my God, did I predict this? My God, did I put the warning flags up years ago? Made it a soapbox issue, saw where this was all going, and it is here. Yet another person in the industry over the weekend told me in detail about this technology, what it costs, how it works. At least 3 people artists for a fact I know that are using it. And you got to be making big money to do it, because right now it's expensive to hire this person in this program when you play quote unquote live. And it's crazy, but we'll see. More to come. Here's Sophia in Connecticut. She's our first caller today. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, Eddie. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I wanted to just touch on the Bon Jovi performance that you and Joel were just talking about.
You watched it?
I saw the performance. I didn't see the entire special with Tony Robbins, but I did see the performance.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, John did not sound great. And if you do end up watching it.
Oh, I will. I just can't now, obviously, because
yeah.
I'm on the air, but I will later or tomorrow or whatever, yeah.
The one song for me that I feel that really shows his voice right now is when he does a cover of I'll Be There For You. Because it's just him and David, and he just does not sound great. So what do you think? Do you think the surgery helped, or do you think it made it worse?
I don't know. I'll say this. First of all, I'll Be There For You, as you know, Sophia, if you're a Bon Jovi fan, is a song that Richie Sambora... So then you know Richie Sambora almost was the co-lead vocalist on that song, and on certain tours even sang the whole song live. So that's a song in particular where the absence of Richie is a huge thing, because that was very much a signature moment for him live. I saw them where that was a song where John didn't sing the lead at all. Rich, even on the recorded version, like half that vocal is, it's a lot of Richie on that song vocally, who's a great singer. So that's when they're really going to feel doing live, not having Richie there. I don't know. I mean, again, I'll watch this. I didn't know about it. I'll watch it, and I'll comment on it tomorrow after I see it. But look, and thank you, Sophia, for the call. I can't, I don't like to comment on things without having seen them firsthand. But if you're telling me that the vocal is a little rough on a pre-recorded, pre-produced show, well, I'll say this. It's surprising because 99% of the time that an artist does something for a TV show of any kind, and it's not live, they go in the studio and they fix it. If a guitar player hits a bad note, if the vocalist doesn't sing it right, they'll re-sing it in the studio. I mean, that's not a secret. There is a ton of that's gone on for decades. Remember back in the day, they used to always put out, like for a long time, it was like these artists would put out these concerts on VHS of their most recent tour. They were big sellers for a while. I've got a ton of them. Do you know how many? And then later, of course, on DVD. You know how many of those were totally re-recorded? It's just like a recorded live album. As we've learned now, most classic live albums are barely live. Same with anything that's recorded and put out, whether it be delayed on television, award show, or even as a recorded, produced concert video. They're all touched up. They're all worked on. So if you're telling me the vocal's rough on something like that after they worked on it, that's alarming. But why it's admirable is because he didn't, try to fake it too much with post-production stuff. And in a way, he might be kind of greasing the wheel for when he goes out and plays and say, hey, look, this is what it's going to sound like. Because, it'd be really bad to go and do something and put something out on a TV show or something sounding pristine, and then you actually buy your ticket and go, and you're like, that's not what it sounded like. Unless, of course, they use the technology and fake it live like so many bands are doing. But again, for the record, I am not saying he's doing that or going to do that. We don't know yet. But I'm just saying this technology does exist and is being used right now. But I respect John and anybody for keeping it real, warts and all, if that's in fact what happened there. I don't know. It's funny, I took a picture with somebody recently. Somebody stopped me at a concert. I don't remember where it was, last week at Def Leppard or something, and they showed me the picture. He goes, "Are you okay with that? Are you okay if I post it?" I go, yeah, whatever. I go, "But just do me a favor." I go, "No, don't go putting all filters on it and stuff." And they're like, "What? I go, "Yeah." I said, because, I never understand these people that they take photos of themselves or with people, and then they go in and they do all this editing to the photo, take 20 years off their face, do all this work. And then, of course, you actually meet that person in person and you're like, well, you don't look anything like your photo. Just warts and all. Put it out there, man. So the same would apply if you're talking about playing live, or on it, put it out, warts and all. Let the people decide. I respect that. Totally. Here's Matt in California. What's going on, Matt?
Hey, Eddie. Just calling in about a couple recent topics. And I have a throwdown idea for you. Hey, I think, like you said, this stuff is here to stay with tickets. You brought up the Springsteen story last week, and then over the weekend it bubbled up. Kid Rock getting a bunch of blowback for his first row is $5,000, and the next row he calls them first class tickets, and then the next
that's real quick. Let me jump in on that, Matt. That's a good one too. Okay. Yes. So I talked about Springsteen with his $3,000 tickets. Kid Rock got blowback because he was offering a ticket level that was a $5,000 ticket at one of his shows. Now Kid Rock has been vocal against the fees and ticketing and how much this stuff costs. He gets shit for charging $5,000 for a ticket. He puts out a statement claiming he's not, but only for a few certain tickets. But factually, he is charging a $5,000 ticket. So he put out a statement denying something that he is doing. It's just, I think some of the press was leading people to believe all his tickets were like that, and it's only a certain row or whatever. It's just, I did pick up on that. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, and I think it just goes to the point that you said, like, it doesn't matter what level of artist. We're here seeing, whether it's VIP packages. I know I've done like The Who with like a sound check package and first whatever row. I mean, it's the norm, and, artists are going to keep getting blowbacks. I'm not saying I'm totally in favor of it, but, it's Springsteen, Kid Rock, The Who, whoever. It's unfortunately feels like it's here to stay.
The problem with it when it comes to those artists on both sides of the ledger is with Springsteen, again, he positions himself as the working class hero, and that's a bad look for him. And with Kid Rock, he positions himself as fighting for, overpriced tickets and the bots and the fees and the little guy, and then he's doing it. So it's the solution is, as I say all the time, if you don't like it, don't buy it, and it'll change. But there will be people, and that's why in both instances, those price points are a limited amount of tickets. And there are people in both of those artists' fan bases that certainly have a ton of disposable income and will buy that. And that's their prerogative to do so if they want. But obviously it's not priced for everybody, and every artist is going to try to get the most they can get. Every artist tours to make money. I hate to say it, but that's the truth.
Yeah. Well, I have a comment and then a throwdown idea. So I loved seeing Sammy Hagar today saying that they're going to start and end every show and change a couple songs in the middle every night on the new residency. So that's really cool. And then I loved when you did the CD versus vinyl showdown. I'll let you tick another box for CD on my behalf because I didn't call in. But one thing I love that came out of it, Eddie, and I think it's a great showdown idea, is all these people, and I'm in my 50s, I was nostalgic for it, talked about a side A versus side B. Can you imagine a throwdown of Kiss Destroyer side A versus side B? I'd go side B, but I think it could be a new series for you instead of just bands or albums. Eddie Trunk embraces vinyl, side A versus side B, and you pick the classic album. Thanks, Eddie.
So, you're saying put the sides against a side of a classic record against each other.
Yeah, you can call in. Like, Eddie, would you pick, if you could, side A is Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, God of Thunder, Great Expectations, or my preference, side B, Flaming Youth, Sweet Pain, Shout It Out Loud, Best, and Do You Love Me?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. We can do battles of sides for sure. I think that's pretty cool. That could be good. And again, it's look, I grew up with vinyl. Obviously, I grew up in this business long before CDs existed. So you do remember those break points even when it shifted over to CD. Joel's telling me on the Kid Rock thing, it's 4 tickets per row for the first 5 rows, 20 total tickets at $5,000. 4,000 for the second row, down to 1,000 to the 5th row. Look, all of these acts are going to tier their tickets and tier their shows to make the most money they can. Every artist tours to make money. It is a business proposition. Sure, they love playing for you. Sure, they love playing with the band. Sure, they love playing the songs. But they do it to make money. And I know you could say to yourself, well, how could somebody like Springsteen, who sold his catalog for $700 million and all, it always is about money. And yeah, there are people insanely wealthy, but they still want to make the most money possible. And of course, there's a lot of overhead too. You know, bands got to be paid, crew. It's not cheap to travel, hotels. They all travel ultra first class, all that. Sure. So there's a lot of overhead, but it's all business propositions to make money. Used to be, touring was done to sell a record. And that's where you made your money. That all flipped when you started getting music essentially for free. But for some artists, it's a worse look than others because of whatever platform they seem to have. Here's Leslie in Texas. Hi, Leslie.
Hey, aloha, Eddie. Hey, Joe. I just wanted to talk about my dual threat that I requested. And thanks, Ray, for shouting me out about
was
that.
Was that you that picked that?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, nice one. It was a good one. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I just want to do 6 real quick because I don't know why I had 6, but I did. But I guess you could say it's an honorable mention. Elton John inducted him to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And his exact quote was, "He ate me for breakfast on the piano." And that would be Leon Russell. He was great. And then number 5 is Rick Emmett. That's a no-brainer. Number 4 is Miles Kennedy. Mm-hmm. And number 3, do you remember when Dead Daisies had those Guitar Center unplugs right before they went to their show? I think it was in 2019.
Yep.
Right before it shut down. And we went to the Guitar Center and saw Dead Daisies. That's back when it had Marco Mendoza, John Corabi. And I'm standing there really close, and here comes Dean Casanova, and he sings Maggie May, and my mouth must have dropped all the way to the floor. I just was shocked at how great his voice was. And then I went up to him and I told him how great it was, and he said thank you, and he was very nice. I think I got my picture with him. And then, of course, number 1 and number 2, and I can't put these two in any order, is Richie Kotzen and Dave Medicaid. That's kind of a no-brainer right there.
Yep.
Oh,
Most of those all came up. Most of those all came up the day we did that show, including Dean, who we talked about vocally. Yeah.
Right. I heard all those. And I also wanted to say, what's his name? Louis. He wants Tom Jones in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's the guy that always emails you like, hooray, Santa Cruz, and he's the guy that always sends you those funny emails because he never can call during the show. Mm-hmm. So he wants Tom Cruise. I mean, not Tom Cruise.
Tom Jones.
Tom, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate it. I don't think that's a crazy one. I don't have a problem with Tom Jones. Not at all. Tom Jones is still touring, still playing live. I mean, I've not seen him playing here in Vegas in a long time, but I've had friends who have seen him recently. They said his voice is still incredibly powerful. And then Tom Jones got into that. Remember, he did that rock stuff like 20 years ago with, I think it was Trent Reznor. I saw him. Saw him here in Vegas when he was in that rock mode. I remember he's like introduced whatever song, and he's like, "Yeah, I did this one with Flood from, the producer of the day at the time." He was kind of trying to pull that move off, like when Johnny Cash started doing Nine Inch Nails and Soundgarden, and kind of reinvented into that world. At that time, Tom Jones was pretty much trying to do the same thing. Jason in Illinois. Go ahead, Jason.
Eddie, you guys already touched on what I was going to talk about here for the Kid Rock thing, but I will just add, pulling up the Chicago show, first of all, it's about 80% wide open. The entire map is blue, so not selling great. Second, in addition to the $5,000 tickets, about the first 15 rows are all $500. The rest of the front pavilion, it's a shed, the rest of the front pavilion is all $200. Back pavilion about $200 to $100. So, yeah, the whole Kid Rock, fighting for the fan is definitely not the case. It's Kid Rock fighting for himself. In honor of that, I will give a showdown or a throwdown idea: listening to Kid Rock or jamming a needle in my ear.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. Look, I got a lot of respect for Kid Rock because of it's not necessarily my music, so to speak, but the reason why I have respect for him purely from a music standpoint is because that guy put the work in to get to where he got to. He did not get an easy path, man. I knew when that guy was being signed by Atlantic Records because I had friends that worked there at the time, and I was working for a label associated with Atlantic at one point. And, that guy was going around selling records out of the back of his trunk, trying to get people to understand what he was doing as a white guy doing this rap rock thing. And it wasn't my cup of tea, but he put the work in and showed up at clubs and did what he had to do. And, he built it. So, he absolutely earned, whether you like him or not, he definitely earned the success that he has. And he does have success. He actually currently has a number one single in, I think, Christian rock, something like that. I read that in the news over the weekend. He currently has a song that's number one. I don't know if it's Christian, gospel, what the category is. So make no mistake, whether you're a fan or not, he does have a level of success. But yes, these guys that put themselves out there for the working person, and obviously Springsteen and Kid Rock on very different sides of the ledger, more than just musically. They both do that. And, look at the prices. But as I say so often, real easy way to fix it. You don't buy it. If what he's saying is true and there's a lot of open seats on that concert that he's looking at in his area, I guarantee you that $300 ticket, you're going to get in for $20 if you wait till the day of show, if it stays like that. All right. What is it, Joel? He's got the
Hot Christian Song List, and he's also on the Country Digital Song Sales list.
Okay, one of them he's like number 1 on. I don't know what that is, apparently. But
that's the Christian songs list. I forget I saw the name of the song. I just passed over it.
All right. Well, there's that. All right, cool. Let's got to get another break. When we come back, we'll keep rolling for another half an hour or so as we work our way into what's a very busy week this week on Trunk Nation. A lot of stuff going on. Wolfgang Van Halen live with us tomorrow. John Taylor of Duran Duran Power Station later in the week. Steve Vai and Joe Satriani on with us together and world premiering their brand new song together. That'll be on Friday. So we got a lot to do this week, a lot of good stuff going on. Hang with me every day, 3 to 5 Eastern Time live or anytime on the app. Back with more of your calls after this.
Eddie Trunk, he made Jesse's girl break up with him. Trunk Nation, Sirius XM, Action Talk.
I'm Katie Nolan, and I host a show on SiriusXM Mad Dog Sports Radio called Fan Service. It's a show that is as much yours as it is mine. It's all about conversation. I'll throw out some things that are on my mind, but it's really a space where you can ask about anything going on in the world of sports and pop culture.
Thank you for having a refreshing way of approaching sports media.
Fan Service with me, Katie Nolan. Weekdays at noon Eastern, only on Mad Dog Sports Radio Channel 82 in the car and on the SiriusXM app.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. He was in great health. Was out of nowhere. Had a stroke. And super hard, obviously, for the whole family. But my dad had life insurance. So even after he passed away, he was still able to provide for my mom. And of course, by extension, my brother and I. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com. Because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test. Just a few health questions. 10 minutes. You're covered. Your family is covered. You can get $2 million in coverage for $2 a day. That's a 10-year term life policy for a 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. We don't like to talk about death in our culture, but everyone's going to die. You are going to die. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/free. Rates may vary, billed monthly. Ethos.com/free.
1-877 Cars for Kids.
Cars for Kids is now accepting all kinds of real estate donations. Houses, lots, land, commercial, residential, or investment properties. You'll receive a tax deduction for the full appraised value of your property. Go to carsforkids.org or call today to see if donating is right for you.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your real estate.
You check your 401k, shake your head and wonder, is this really growing fast enough? You've thought about trading, but the learning curve, the stress, and the time it takes, it's just not realistic. And the idea of losing money because of one bad decision, that's enough to keep most people on the sidelines. That's why TrueTrade was created, to give you a smarter, simpler way to trade. TrueTrade's automated system takes emotion out of the equation, using technology that trades for you, even while you're living your life. And here's what makes TrueTrade different. When you download the TrueTrade app and sign up, they'll guarantee to fund each of your trading accounts with $50,000 or more in trading capital and no service fees for 12 months. So you can start building passive income without risking your own money or spending years trying to learn the market. To take advantage of our offer and secure your $50,000 in funding, download the TrueTrade app today on iOS and Android, or go to TrueTrade.io. That's TrueTrade.io. TrueTrade, where technology earns for you.
Hi, I'm Joe Perillo with JoePerillo.com. We know many of you are searching for just that right pre-owned luxury vehicle. That's why I want to tell you about JoePerillo.com. At JoePerillo.com, you could browse our huge selection of curated luxury vehicles. JoePerillo.com is based in Chicago, but we ship cars all over the country. Check out JoePerillo.com. That's Joe Perillo, Perillo. Or dial 312-BMW 1111. That's 312-BMW 1111. 312-BMW 1111.
Back to Trunk Nation.
Dedicated celebration of rock.
Amen to that.
With host Eddie Trunk.
The new David Lee Roth.
Sirius XM Faction Talk.
All right, we are back. Hanging with you here on a Monday, getting the week started, talking rock with you. We will be doing so all week long, of course. Let's get back over to the busy phones and continue seeing what's on your mind here on Trunk Nation. And we pick it up with, how about we go to Jim, who's joining us from New York today. Go ahead, Jim, you're on the air.
Hey, Ed, how are you, man?
Hey, Jim, good. Oh, is this the Jim?
Out.
Staten Island?
Jim in Staten Island, yeah. Digging out of 24.1 inches. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, man, you guys got hit over 2 feet, huh?
Oh, dude. It's like every shovel feels like 20 pounds. It's brutal. So be glad you're in Vegas.
Yeah, well, I got to head back. I'm heading back that way, though, at the end of the week. But I got to go to Boston, which they got zonked pretty hard there, too. So I'm hoping that all works out. But there's supposed to be more, right, Jim? Is there more later in the week?
Well, I think even right now it might be still snowing in Boston. It stopped here a couple hours ago. We're supposed to get a little bit of snow Wednesday and also Thursday. So I don't know, man. Good luck.
It's been a rough winter. I know.
Well, I'm going to give you my my best double threat. I came up with 3. I think 2 you might talk me out of, and that would be Trent Reznor and Chris Cornell. But my undisputable one, I think, is Randy Jackson from Zebra.
Yeah, Randy's a good one. In general, Zebra overlooked in that way. Zebra very active again the last couple of years, including a bunch of East Coast dates coming up. I just posted it. They asked me to post for them the ad mat, which I did over the weekend. But they're
playing They're playing this coming Sunday in Manhattan.
Yeah, the show, the Trent Reznor came up, and I don't have a problem with that. But the Chris Cornell thing, make your point on that. What is the second thing besides vocal that you feel for Chris?
Well, I mean, guitar. I mean, he plays a lot of guitar live, and as you know, because you went to them, those solo shows at the Beacon. But I get you could say Kim Dale handles the majority of the heavy lifting on guitar, but it just came up more on the acoustic side, I would say, for Cornell.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think when we do this, and if we do it again, and we probably will because people are still talking about it, and thank you, Jim. Stay safe there with the snow. We definitely are going to reframe it because the reframing would be your favorite. That's the key word. If we change it and we do it again, put favorite in. Because I think there's a huge difference between framing it as the best or the greatest and just your personal taste favorite. So when you go down that road, it can be anyone. It could be just whatever connects with you, not necessarily people that are thought of as virtuosos in 2 or more areas of what they do in a band. For those that didn't listen last week, don't know what we're talking about, one of our call-in shows was your top dual threats, meaning people that do at least 2 things extraordinarily well in a band. So that's what some of this carryover is about. Let's go to South Carolina and welcome Steve to the show. Hi, Steve.
Hello?
Hey, Steve, you're on the air.
Show idea. You said it a while ago. What 3 songs you would replace, and maybe what you would put them on, like with Gene. You'd have to get ahead of the curve, so they can have a chance to run their set list out. You can't just do it after they're already on the thing. Is that something like you would think about getting behind and maybe sending like fan choice to some of these bands before they go out on tour?
Well, you mean do it as a call-in thing and then send it to the band?
Well, yeah, why not? I mean, the top three, get Joel to crunch the numbers and take out Rock and Roll All Night and Deuce for sure, and put in Fits Like a Glove, Trial by Fire, and maybe either She or Hate.
Larger Than Life. How about Larger Than Life?
Anything but Rock and Roll All Night and Deuce.
Well, Steve, here's the problem, and thank you, Steve. And we can have fun with that with you guys calling in, and you just gave your thoughts, Steve, and that's all good. But here's the problem with doing it as a call-in thing. It's not going to resonate. It's not going to matter. And by the way, I understand completely why Gene does Deuce and Rock and Roll All Night. They are two very big signature songs for him. In the case of Rock and Roll All Night, although it's played into the ground, it is absolutely in the top 2 or 3 biggest Kiss songs. It's an anthem. It's a sing-along. I get it. So I get, as much as I never need to hear it again, I get why it's done. And I get why Deuce is done too. It's a signature Gene song. I get it. I would not be my preference to have those played, but I completely understand why they are done. Shout It Out Loud, not so much. I mean, War Machine, not so much. I'm a little more head scratching about. As again, but here's what you're up against, okay? And yes, there has been some improvement. Always have to give credit where credit is due, because there is certainly improvement. Looks like dramatic improvement. But remember, and this ties in with the conversation we have all the time about deep tracks, deep tracks, deep tracks. All of these guys want to play the songs that most people know to keep getting booked and keep getting fans to come back. They're playing for the masses. They're not playing for the hardcores. I mean, I saw Def Leppard twice here in Vegas. There are people that got in my ear about the set list. How come they're not doing anything from the first record? How come it's always ever bringing on the Heartbreak from High and Dry? Well, they're doing White Lightning. And guess what happens during White Lightning? 96% of that crowd is lost. They're doing Slang. It's a deep track from an unknown album. 98% of the crowd lost. And then look what happens when they do Pour Some Sugar on Me. Look what happens when they do Photograph. Look what happens when they do Rock of Ages. It's just that 98% is going crazy. That's who these guys are all playing for, not that 2%. The 98% is the one that 6 months later is like, I got to go see that again because they played all the songs I know. Me, they're doing White Lightning. I'm like, holy shit, this is so cool. They're doing Slang. Oh my God, this is awesome. But they're not making set lists for me or you if you're hardcore. They're making set lists for the masses, for the people that just know the radio songs. Because that's good for business. And, Def Leppard did something at a Vegas residency a number of years ago here that was very cool. I don't know if you guys remember this. They were their own opening act. They called themselves Dead Flatbird. They came out dressed differently, and they played nothing but songs from the first 2 records. And they made a thing about it. They actually said, yeah, we're the cooler, we play the cool stuff from the band. That was a great idea. That was super cool. That was awesome. But, they're playing Caesar's Palace here in Vegas. There's hardcore fans there, no doubt, but the masses are coming to hear the hits, and they got a ton of hits. The one thing, in that instance, I give them credit for doing Slang, doing White Lightning. The one I don't get what they're doing, if I had to pull something apart on their set list, is they're doing 2 covers in the set. They're doing the David Essex song, Rock On, and they're doing the Depeche Mode song, Personal Jesus. And I know they recorded both of those songs, but again, it's just like I said with Gene earlier. And I know most people know those songs, so they don't lose the audience when they play them. But that's 2 examples where I would sub those in a minute for something like, Wasted or Hello America or another Hit and Run. At least they're their songs. And one other thing about Gene's list, you also have to remember this. You're dealing with a guy who I think is about 76 years old. And there may be some things where he just cannot sing them anymore. Look at how many big songs Ozzy did not do for years when he toured. And I know for a fact why. He couldn't sing them. They were too high. Didn't matter. Shot in the Dark. Didn't matter what this. He could not do it. So, something like Unholy, which would be great to hear Gene do, could be very challenging on him vocally. Because his show, to his credit, is 100% live. So there's reasons for all this. The only band I can think of that's out there right now that's 100% live and can throw you some real wild cards is Cheap Trick. They will play anything on any given night. Styx does it a little bit too, where they're playing, deep tracks from certain albums when they're doing them in their entirety. But in both cases with those bands, with Cheap Trick, you're always going to get I Want You to Want Me. You're always going to get Surrender. You're pretty much always going to get The Flame. You're always going to get Dream Police. And I get that. That makes sense. Styx, you're always going to get Come Sail Away. You're always going to get Renegade. And that makes sense. The stuff around it, and when they do go into the deeper tracks or something, you just hope, you don't want to cover, and you want something cool and different. It's a balance. Here's Ivan, who's in Illinois. Go ahead, Ivan.
Hey, Eddie, how's it going?
Good.
Good to talk to you, man. Love your show.
Thank you.
I called in because my wife and I went ahead and spent the money and bought GNR tickets when they come to Tinley Park in Illinois.
Okay. When you said spent the money, how much did you spend?
And that's what I know you like to know about that stuff. So we spent $1,000 a ticket, pretty much.
Oof.
Yeah. With the You're So Fine VIP package.
Which gets you what? What does that get you?
VIP. Just some VIP club access, basically. Otherwise, what I did wanted to say is that while looking, we're fourth row from stage left. Front row, stage left. I saw certified resale tickets for $4,000. Yeah, that's what I said. So, we said, a few rows back, we could see everything the same and not spend as much money. But we also did say to ourselves, when's the next time these guys are going to come around? When's the next time we're going to have a chance to see them when they come to, our part of town per se. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that where the amphitheater, it's an amphitheater, by the way, where the amphitheater is at is right off of I-80. And so anyone else going, I advise go early because I-80 is under construction and it gets really backed up in the area whenever there's a big concert in town.
What's the place hold? What does that venue hold? Is it a regular amphitheater, like 12, 15,000?
I would say it's a regular amphitheater, but what's it hold? I couldn't tell you, Eddie.
Right.
So I've been there. We've been there a few times to see other shows.
And I'm curious that when you say VIP club access, does it get you? Is there some area where you can go in and sit down or get a drink or something like that, or what does that actually mean?
Yeah, that's exactly it. You hit the nail on the head. And the other thing you do get is within that bar lounge area that you get access to is you're able to buy merch through there and then have it ready for pickup on the way out. So you don't have to wait in line trying to buy your T-shirt or whatever.
Yeah. That's been a big thing. That's thank you, Ivan. Appreciate it. So a couple things on Ivan's call when it comes to Guns N' Roses. He was saying, well, you don't know when they're going to come back around again. Well, Guns N' Roses has toured consistently for the last 10 years. So I don't know if that's so much a concern about them. Any question about Guns N' Roses being active, I think those are all gone. Guns N' Roses is extraordinarily active for 10 years. So I wouldn't worry about that so much. It always amazes me, though, when the VIPs and the upcharge stuff includes early access to buy merch. Because think about what that is. And all of these bands are doing it now. But think about what it is. You're paying extra for the right to spend more money quicker and more conveniently. I mean, that's what it is. You are paying a premium amount of money for the right to spend $100 on a T-shirt before anybody else. And I get that's a great convenience to some people, but it's just funny to me that's a perk of VIPs on some of these packages. I think it was Van Halen last time they toured. Somebody said that they bought a VIP, and I said, well, what did you get for that? Because Van Halen didn't do meet and greets. I know Axl's not doing a meet and greet. They said, we got to get in early and get to the merch stand first. Oh, man. It's amazing. But hey, it's a different world now, and again, people are going to do whatever they can pull off, man. Whether it's VIPs, whether it's upcharge, whether it's the seat location, whatever. He brought up a great point, though. So we were talking earlier about Kid Rock, Springsteen, and how much this stuff costs, like first 5 rows or whatever, right? As Joel mentioned when he was doing the tiering on the Kid Rock stuff, with each row you went back, it dropped like $1,000. So what the hell is the difference between row 1 and row 4? If it maybe $3,000, and what is the difference? 15 feet? If that? 7 feet? So, all of these things, there's a break point, right? Where one row back, it drops significantly because they've got to do break points at some point, right? So is 8 feet closer to you worth $2,000 more a ticket? So that's another thing that you can really do if you're one of these people that have to be in these sections like our caller did. I forget his name. But yeah, like if row 5 is $5,000 and row 6 is $1,000, and you can get row 6, take row 6 all day long. It's literally like a 2 feet difference, if that. And here's the real part of it that nobody talks about, and I've said this so often, and it's the truth. The worst seats at a concert are the front row. It's the worst place to see a concert. And I get it. It's the cachet of like, I'm in the front row. First row, baby. It's the worst for a big concert. It's the worst. The worst sight line, the worst audio. You can't take in the full stage. You can't see the full. You can't. It's the worst. Why do you think at every concert you go to, the soundboard and the lighting board is about halfway back on the field or on the floor? Why? Because that's the first place where you can see and hear everything properly. Some people don't care. I'm the front row, man. Doesn't matter that I'm just looking at this guy's boots the whole time because that's all I can see. Doesn't matter I'm just hearing bass because I'm just in front of the bass cabinet. Front row. Worst spot. Just like I've said this many times, I've watched many shows from the wings of the stage. The worst spot to watch a show from. You can't hear anything. Can't hear right unless you got ear monitors in. I do it, though, because often I have to if I'm working the show. Let's say hi to Jamie, who is in Kentucky, joining us today. Hi, Jamie.
Hey, Eddie. How's it going, man?
Hey, man.
Hey, real quick, I'm coming to the Eagles April 9th and 10th out in Vegas, out in your backyard. And
You're going both shows? You're going 2 nights?
No, I'm going to Eagles Friday and Chris Angel on your recommendation on Saturday. So I'm trying to maximize my 3.5